What's going on, guys? It is Lando Plays here. Today, I will be talking about one of my favorite, and honestly, one of the most underrated Mario games of all time, Super Mario Land 2. I hear not a lot of people talk about this game, and I think it's kind of sad because I personally think it's fantastic. I think it's creative, I think it's fun, and I think it's one of the best Game Boy games, and one of the best Mario games just in general. And I think that it'd be fun to rank all of the bosses in this game. So, without further ado, Number 10, Bird. While you can complete most of the bosses in any order you want in Super Mario Land 2, Bird is intended to be at least the first one you fight, so it makes sense why it's at the bottom. Its attack patterns are really easy. It just kind of swoops down, and then once you get on its head 3 times, which is a common theme with these bosses, you basically already got it. The carrot absolutely cheeses this boss fight. It genuinely makes it so that you're basically flying the whole time, and the bird jumping on its head gives you a jump boost, so you can just stay up there the whole time, and there you go, then you're done. But yeah, this fight isn't really that interesting, but it's kind of neat. 9. Witch. Pumpkin Zone overall is an extremely creative zone, and the Witch boss fight is actually super cool. The Witch throws flames at you, and the flames make the pots boil, which could launch you up into the spikes above. And they're kind of hard to see too, so it's pretty neat that you have to avoid them because they could be tricky to even notice because they blend in with the background so well. Other than that though, the Witch kind of teleports, but she only has 2 spots to teleport in, so it's really not that challenging to figure out a pattern. She also only takes 3 hits, which again is a common theme with most, if not all, the bosses in this game. We'll get to that in a minute. And it's a neat boss fight, but just a little too easy. 8. Wario Phase 3. I thought it'd be fun to group the Wario boss fights in 3 different phases because I think they're all pretty unique and there's not a whole lot of bosses, so I needed something for this video. For one, I think it's awesome that Wario uses the power-ups in this game. It kind of reminds me of Super Mario 3D World, and it's only one of the few instances where the bosses actually use Mario's power-ups. Of all the phases, though, this one's probably the weakest, because Wario just hops around and throws giant fireballs, which are really easy to avoid. I still think it's a pretty neat way to cap off the game, because it's Mario's most iconic power-up, but Wario doesn't really use it that well, and he makes it really, really easy to hit him in the head. 7. Ratt. 80s hair metal references aside, Sewer Rat, or just Ratt, is the boss of Macro Zone, a zone where you're really, really tiny, and that's why the rat is the main boss. For one, I think that's a neat theme. It's really interesting to see the devs actually branch out in a Mario game. I don't know why the rat's a toy, but I digress. The rat is actually pretty cool because it climbs on the walls and actually tries to stab you with its really sharp nose. And sometimes it's random what pipe it comes out of, but a lot of the times it just comes down to timing and pattern practice. I think the rat is overall just a really cool boss fight. It's not super difficult, but it's one of the few boss fights that A, can't be cheesed with the stupid carrot. I'm just kidding, the carrot's awesome. And B, is definitely a boss that you will remember. 6. Octopus. This is the boss of the required Mario water level thing, and this boss actually takes place underwater, which is not really that common in Mario games. The octopus is a really neat boss fight because its treasure, the golden coin that you try to get from it, is actually hidden in the big, like, basket thing that it's guarding, and it sends its little kids, maybe, out to get you. That's actually creepier reading back at it. But the octopus isn't super hard, especially when you could just camp out in one place, and a lot of the time it'll just come under you. But it is a little bit tricky for the first time to get the pattern down. 5. Floating Faces. This is a boss a lot of people don't really talk about, maybe because it's more of a mid-boss and it's not super memorable, but I still think it's pretty cool. You fight faces that are Wario's faces somehow, and there's multiple of them. Alright. But you basically just got to stomp on their head 2 times, which is a bit different, and it's kind of refreshing. Also, as a first-timer, this boss could be a little bit weird, because it doesn't really have a specific pattern, and you kind of just got to get lucky whether it's under you or not. So I think that's definitely a really cool thing. It is a little annoying, though, that it's in Wario's castle, and I know it's supposed to be the hardest level in the game, but there's no checkpoints, so if you die to these guys, you have to restart the whole fight over, and you don't even get to Wario, which is... it's rough. It's rough, I'm telling you. 4. Wario Phase 1. This is the fight that started it all. Introduced everybody to the hottest Mario character, Wario. This fight is pretty alright. It's not super hard. None of the bosses really are in this game, but it's pretty cool that he tries to stomp you out with chandeliers and stuff. And especially being the first, like the final boss, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking too. And it's your first time fighting Wario, and you have no idea what his patterns are. So, yeah, I know I'm going off of a first time basis, I guess, but you gotta think that it's definitely hard for like the newbie or a beginner trying this boss. It's not super hard after you get it down. Like me, I played this game a million times, but it's still a pretty fun boss fight. 3. Wario Phase 2. This is the fight where Wario uses the most iconic power-up in this game, the Super Carrot. Again, not super difficult, but it's still really cool that Wario even uses the power-ups at all. And this one, of all the phases in my opinion, it just is the most challenging because Wario's hit stun lasts for a while, and the chandeliers always seem to line up in a spot that you don't want them to be in, and they always seem to hit you. You basically kind of got to get really lucky, like in this footage, to hit him right, and you also got to make sure that you're above him. The statue definitely helps, but I feel like this phase is definitely the hardest out of all of them. It's just really fun, too, seeing Wario fly around, his big, chubby little sprite just kind of floating around with the Super Carrot. It's pretty cool. 2. Tatanga. If you know concerningly much about Super Mario Land lore like me, and that name sounds familiar to you, that's because Tatanga is actually the main villain of the first Mario Land game in 1989. He's the one that you fight at the end in the spaceship, and the one that abducts Daisy. I cannot speak today, I'm sorry. But Tatanga is a really hard boss fight, and even now, I still struggle with this. And that's mainly because his hitbox is on the very, very back of his spaceship. And I did not know this when I first fought him the few times. I thought I just had to get really, really lucky with the fight. I genuinely struggled with this one the most, especially since the physics are weird because you're in space and can basically float around a lot. But yeah, this boss fight is super, super fun too. Not as fun though as the first boss fight, which is number 1, the 3 pigs. This is by far one of the hardest, most creative, and most fun bosses in this game. I think that the whole vibe of the zone, Mario Zone, is personally my favorite, and honestly, I just think it's weird that there's a level where you go in his crotch and there's a bunch of balls, but besides that fact, I think the 3 pigs are definitely really fun, considering that there's, 3 of them, and they all have the challenge of just like one normal boss too, so it's definitely hard. On my first playthrough, I struggled so much with this boss, but it is definitely the hardest boss in this game, and definitely the most fun to play through. So yeah, that's my definitive ranking of every Super Mario Land 2 boss from worst to best. I think this game deserves a lot more love from people, and if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend it. As always, please sure to like and subscribe and ring that bell if you feel like it, and I hope you guys have a great day. Until next time.